Greetings, everyone. Tommy Hawksblood here, calling from that big island of Hawaii. It's a dreary, rainy day, and it's been raining a real lot here. We had a couple major storms hit the other island and flooded it. They got 30 inches of rain. So Hawaii is kind of weird with the weather lately, and I know it's not just us having weird weather. But pertaining to the topic today, we have a special guest on. I'll let him introduce himself in a second. My co-host Tina Bird. Greetings. How are you? Say hello.
Hi, Tommy. Hello, Phil, and hello to everyone in Hawaii and across America and everyone else listening to this tonight. We've got a great show lined up for you, and like Tommy says, we're going to be speaking to Philip Guxton tonight from Wimborne in Dorset. He's from a CEI group, and he's started his own Facebook page about that. But first, we're going to do any roundup of any weekly news up and coming. Do you have anything to go on with, Tommy?
Well, the weekly news is there's a lot of stuff going on physically in Hawaii as far as UFOs. They actually put a video up on TV, and they said it's probably a UFO. The government, the Army said it wasn't theirs. But I want to say this before we get into the show, people. If a UFO, so-called, ship of any kind flew over a country, all right, including the White House, it would be considered a terrorist act, and that would be an act for war, and it would be shot down. So when they say, well, we don't know what it is, and we don't believe it's a UFO, there's so many lies out there right now, and people don't realize that. The government won't admit it because they can't do anything to these UFOs, so they're not going to admit much about it. Even Mr. Putin came out publicly right before Trump was elected and said they're dealing with a bunch of alien races and two of them want to destroy the planet. So why would he say that? But then he also asked Trump to release the facts about 9/11, which we have no clue what really happened either. So I do this show to bring as much truth as I can out because I have direct experience with aliens, UFOs. So is Tina. And the guest, I don't know much about him yet, but we will get into it in a couple of seconds. But greetings, everybody. Please send this link to everybody you know when the show is over. It'll be recorded, and it'll be out there for a while. So I want everybody to realize I don't lie. Tina doesn't lie. I hope my guest doesn't, because I only want to put the truth out there. And not what you hear at the UFO conferences, not what you hear on all these big speakers talking about. And it always is, well, my viewpoint. I don't want a viewpoint. We don't need viewpoints. Everybody has a viewpoint. We need the truth. And the truth is out there. All right, people. And I mean, now with the new word experiences, which we always mention, are people that were abducted and programmed. And everything is great and beautiful in their world, which it's not. All right, with that being said, let's introduce the guest. Mr. Philip, how are you?
I'm okay, thank you.
You want to just give us a brief synopsis of who and what you do?
Yeah, my name's Philip. I live in England, not too far away from Tina. About 45 minutes, an hour's drive west. I live near a place called Poole in Dorset, County of Dorset. I've been interested in UFOs since I was a young boy, really, and as a teenager. I was brought up in the 60s, so I remember the sightings that there were, particularly things like Warminster, but I lived in Yorkshire until coming down here about over 30 years ago. As well as being interested in UFOs, I also was in spiritual matters. I'll talk about that in a minute. I read, as was available, in the 60s, 70s, books of UFOs, Adamski and Eric von Daniken. I mean, there wasn't the internet those days.
I love Eric von Daniken. I've actually met Eric a few times.
You met him? Oh, right.
Yeah, I've got a few pictures with, if you look on my Facebook page, you'll see that there's pictures of me and Eric all over it. So yeah, Eric has written some amazing things. He's very good in real life. He's very good lecturing, especially. I think he's 87 now. He's very good. So Phil, you don't live really theoretically far from me. It's not like the states in Hawaii that are massive. And you came to my attention over at my event, which is coming up this year, actually, now at Jubilee Hall, the Encounters event. And me and Tommy talk each week about abduction and sightings and what people think about aliens. Tommy is more the spiritual side. I'll give him that. Tommy's the expert on that, so he'll have a few questions for you in a bit. I'll just go saying hello to John in our chat room. Hello, John. It's good to see you again. Now, you started a CE5 Facebook page in Wimbledon, Dorset, so it'd be under your name, Phil. So Tommy has a view, well, he'll tell you his view in a minute, but Tommy has a view that people shouldn't talk. Why do you want to talk to aliens, or why do you want to contact aliens? So that will be one question. And a second question is, how do you feel about abduction, and do you think abduction is contact? So I'll let you answer the first question first.
That's interesting. I was saying about the interest in UFOs since I was a teenager, and it's only perhaps recently I was aware of Dr. Stephen Greer and his talks, but it wasn't until a few years ago that I was aware on Facebook that there was some effort to coordinate CE5 activity in the UK. A man called James Rose, who runs the CE5 UK Facebook group, organised everyone together and organised training. It's about 2 years ago, and set up a CE5 Dorset Facebook group. There's anyone in the UK listening, if they wanted to search for that, particularly if they live in our area, Tina, or not only Dorset, but maybe Hampshire or neighbouring places.
Yeah, I know Hampshire has a C5 group.
Hants has a C5 Facebook group, and I've met people in the C.
So, is your goal, but for people who don't know a lot about CE5 groups, who are just seeing this for the first time, and me, because I've never been to one, I just open my door, look out, look up, and I see so much. I think because I'm stuck between Portsmouth Dockyard, between the nuclear submarine, where there's a submarines base, a military base, an old abandoned Air American base, and a big, huge fuel depot, and I'm directly across from Fawley. So I'm a bit of a triangle, and I see things that you see. Open my door, go out at night, and you'll just see things flying about out there. And I take pictures. Obviously, you've seen them on there and share them. So what is your view on contact? So if it's my understanding, you go there, you either wait or you put lasers up or you signal them, or you want to meditate, or whichever way it works for you. And then do you hope for them to blink or signal back or land? What's your expectation when that happens?
Okay. Well, there's the viewers know about C5. I mean, there's the protocols that Dr. Stephen Greer put forward, and there's the app. And I mean, that's the intention. I mean, there may be a bit of an expectation whether that, works.
Do you think you would be, sorry to interrupt you, but do you think you're all stood there and this UFO lands like the size of a Tesco's in front of you? I don't know about you, but I'd crap myself. I'd be so frightened. Because you come from one side of the coin and I'm really on the other side. Do you or your group, would you feel safe if that happened? Would you welcome them? What would you say if they actually landed and got out of the ship? What would you do?
I think well,
that's a possibility.
I think it's more. You'd probably. I think what people found with CFO is more sort of you see lights. People use signal back, transmit the crop zones over radio. Well, that's a bit difficult to do in the UK licensing, but
So I have crop circles normally come up about 10, 20
Yeah.
minutes from where I live.
yeah,
Sometimes up to half an hour. So they're quite local to me. Some are near Bishop's Waltham, Winchester, in places like that. So they're quite close to me. So so you're out. You do not. Do you report if you do see things in the sky, or you see ships and crafts and lights that are unexplained? Because you guys know what you're looking for, hopefully.
yeah.
So do you have a reporting system, or is there
Yeah,
a
there
website?
is.
How do
There
you
is.
go about reporting that? So who do you
When
report that to?
yeah, that's an interesting point. There is a reporting system. The group C5 UK developed a form, which was actually developed with actually the members of the police, believe it or not. Or I think we did have a Zoom session with Gary Hesseltine. They used to interviewing people. The process of interviewing and to upload that to the Facebook group. So, yeah, there is a reporting system. I know there are other UFO groups that report things, and people upload videos.
So I didn't realise Gary Hesseltine's part of the CE, because I know Gary personally.
No, not really. He gave a Zoom session once. I don't think he's formally sort of involved.
Yeah, because he's
Yeah.
he's heavily involved in other things. He's just come back.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
But yeah. So okay, so you have a system of reporting, a system of identified. So what do you think? Once everything's been reported, what does CE5 groups do with that information? Is it shared? Is it catalogued? Do you share it with the government? Do you know what happens to it from there?
Yeah, it's not with the government. I mean, there are lots of different CE5 groups. It's mainly through the CE5
so what's
UK.
The purpose of collecting the information? What do you do with all that data? How is it collated? For what purpose?
That's a good question. I'm not sure. I'm not sure to what degree it is being collated, but it's a lot of C5 groups will share their information on the Facebook group.
So I'm going to get a bit controversial with you now. So I'm going to ask questions from my side of the fence. So
yeah,
C5, and I've seen many talks for Dr. Greer. Tommy is not a fan. He will Tommy will have his say in a minute. He thinks they're kind of crazy when I talk to aliens. Where I come from, I'm an abductee. People call it experiencer. I don't like the word experiencer. You could go to McDonald's or somewhere and have a great burger, and that's being an experience. Or you could go to a spa for a date, and that's experience. I'm an abductee, so therefore I'm taken from my home against my will, under the guise of night, from unknown entities who come into our atmosphere unimpeded, coming through our ozone, bringing any bacteria with them in the ship, irradiating their areas with damaging our Earth with their ships. And this happened to me when I was 6, my first experience when I was a little girl. Now, instead of being a little girl with a little pink nightie on, if I was to say I was a soldier and that an unknown force had impeded our airspace and it came into my area where I lived, abducted me under the guise of night, tortured me, performed experiments on me while I was awake, and then returned me and they took bits out of my body. Now, I would have them free access to medical care. People would believe me. A written report would done. I'd have tests done. They would correct any injuries caused inside my body. They would give me radiation treatment so I wouldn't lose hair and teeth and affect my bones. It wouldn't kill my dog. And there would be someone held accountable. They would be out there getting a description, looking for them and finding how these incursions were happening. Now, why does that not apply to protection, because I pay tax, and the government says, the same as the American government and lots of other governments, to serve and protect, and in the case of the United Kingdom, to protect us from all invaders, foreign and domestic. So they are foreign invaders in my eyes, come into our atmosphere. Now, I'm an abductee. If an alien race is taking me against my will and performing experiments and talking to me, that is contact. Would you agree?
I'm not. Okay. I'll just express my opinion.
Yeah.
I think that if that was the case, if UFOs are such a threat, they would have possibly taken over by now, or why didn't they do it before we had the atomic bomb?
But abductions have been reported for hundreds and hundreds of years. Before that, even in crop circles in ancient times, it's written in, it's described in many different ways in the Bible. And I think there's like 13 books of Moses in the Jewish Bible. There's loads of other religions and that is documented in. And even recent times, 1600s, 1700s, 1800s, until modern day, millions of people have claimed to be abducted. They all can't be wrong and they all can't be lies. But like me and Tommy, if you've been abducted and you feel this way, these beings are coming to you and taking to you. They're taking us and taking bits of us, if it's for a breeding program, for unknown purpose. Fair enough. But when they're talking to me and I'm talking back to them, that is contact. That is communication. And I'm not the only one. There are millions of other people, military people, doctors, even a member of a delegation from China was visiting America or Russia. And a Russian as well once before claimed to be abducted by aliens while they were at a conference going back to the hotel room. And they claimed that aliens spoke to them then. That surely is contact. If they're choosing to take you and talk to you and communicate with you, that is contact. So when people, expectations are they're going to land and all these people are going to come and talk to them, what expectation do you believe? Do you believe contact's already happened? They're working with the human race, or do you think that they're going to land and come forward?
I just want to throw one question. I just want to throw this in real fast. Well, the native people were living in the United States, and the white people came to make contact with them. And what did they do? Kill 49 million native people. That's contact, but it's not a good contact. And we have been in war since the beginning of time. So I've been challenging everybody to prove aliens can help us in any way, will bring us anything important, or help us with something that's going on right now. Like you said, neutron bombs, electron bombs, proton bombs, they're all out there. Tesla worked with an alien race, and I know that for a fact. They gave him 50 of the most deadliest weapons on the planet. So are they here for friendly contact? No. Will they ever be? Probably not. But they do hypnotize and program people. 90% of the abductees call themselves experiencers. I've been dealing with this since I was 8 years old. I saw my first ship at 12. I was right next to it. An alien came in my house with my friend there. So I've been involved with this. I work with hypnosis with people that were abducted, and I'm hoping that we can do with Tina real soon. The facts are there. They have always been there. One last thing. I worked with pregnant women that lost their children in one day by being abducted and proved it. I'm talking about in the 70s. I mean, we weren't going public. They wouldn't go public, but they were pregnant, 8.9 months pregnant, and getting ready to have a child. They went into the hospital, and the hospital said, "You're not pregnant." All right. She was abducted and taken back to see her children. They told her she'll only get to see them one time. And but these are multiple women. In the 70s, they were abducting women and taking their children. So when people say, "Oh, they're good," they never did a positive thing. The only thing they ever did, and it wasn't good really, they shut down 4 nuclear reactors in about a week. They shut them down for an hour. They're not stopping war. Mr. Putin is getting ready for a war. The United States and everybody's getting ready for it, which we probably will go in. Now, I will tell you this. Even in Vietnam, there were UFOs there and aliens. All right. So it's not like they're not watching what we do. They watch everything we do. And the last thing I'll say, when you go to take pictures of them, If they don't want you to take pictures of them, they don't let you. If they want you to, they let you. It's that simple. They're much more advanced in certain things than the human race are.
I think it's a lot to take in one go, but I think what Tommy's trying to say is they've witnessed this. They're in the skies. You guys are looking for them. What is your response to that? They've done nothing. It's been documented for many years. And I've got to say, Tommy's right. The Native American people, which Tommy work with, and the different tribes of Indians across the United States and other countries, and the Amazon and places like that have documented and said that beings from the sky come down and land on their reservations and talk to them. This has been documented for hundreds of years, but they don't intervene in human affairs or problems. What would you say to that?
Right. Yeah. Well, I think I was saying is that I have a background studying spiritual teachings, and according to what I believe, I mean, it's my opinion, that the base people who are coming here are very far advanced than us. Actually, this is the people that are coming the craft, that are actually here to help. The idea they have who appear over nuclear reactors and nuclear missile sites. They actually mop up the radiation. They have affected the nuclear missiles, but this is, I think, a sort of show. But look, you know, if you think you're going to fire these things, we know how to shut them down.
Think that they are attracted to that type of nuclear power, or is it just that you find that they're thinking it's because our planet's been irradiated many, many times? We create nuclear weapons, but it's also in part of the mantle of our planet.
I think what they're doing is they are mopping up radiation.
Wait, before you go any further with that statement, wait. Do you have any proof of that? I can tell you there was a special on last week of Chernobyl. Do you know how dangerous that area is right now? Even 9/11, when that happened, do you know how many people are still dying from the radiation from that? I mean, in Vietnam, people were getting radioactive as well. But as far as, I mean, I could tell you areas that are super radioactive. On Long Island, where a ship crashed in 96, they surrounded that area. They burned it, and they had trucks going, black trailers taking the ship out of there, and everything else. But it's still radioactive. So, and my friend, who's in the nut house, went out there with a Geiger counter, and they arrested him. He shot the best video of a UFO crash out of anybody on the planet, and he's in the nut house right now, and they won't let him out because if he gets out, he will show that video. I saw it. All right. Mm-hmm. So when people say things like we have no proof, the government has thousands and thousands of things that prove, and they work with them and all that. So, but you think they can release that? Really? I mean, but aliens helping us remove radiation? The planet is more radioactive than it has ever been.
Just before you answer that, Phil.
Yeah.
With that in mind, because I've just seen something else and I've just got a message. I don't know if we can bring that up, but so if aliens are mopping up radiation, how can you explain radiation they leave behind in farmers' crops to a point where, where when they visit from their ships or the dimension or wherever they come from, they're leaving a radioactive signature. Now that means the farmer can't sell that crop, can't use that field, and it's electrical magnetical field, so it affects his equipment. And the other thing I want to say on that is Tommy's right on a lot, 95% of confirmed crashes. And there's been quite a few, and especially a few recently, especially in mountains and things like that. Something in our atmosphere obviously affects them. But the crash sites then are radioactive. They've had to cut trees down, take clumps of earth out. This happened in America as well as Britain, in Cable Green as well. I think Gary Heseltine's just made the film about that. What's your answer to that? So if they're mopping up radiation, how come they're spilling so much across our planet?
When I say mopping up, they're not mopping up. They're doing it within what I'd call karmic law. They're mopping it up partially, if we are releasing excess radiation, I mean, that is the case. There are radioactive areas. But what I've heard is they're doing it under karmic law within limits. The other thing is, obviously, their craft will leave electromagnetic signatures. I believe, for instance, in the cases of crop circles, I know this is a controversial topic because some are fake. I don't believe they're all faked.
So that's another thing. If they're all fake, then a lot of people said, hold on, Tommy. If a lot of people said that these are fake, then scientists, modern day scientists, have proven that the ones that they have looked at and confirmed are real have a radioactive signature. Now you're telling me these people carry bags of radiation around with them to spread around the field because the recording temperatures, recording levels of radiation recorded in these fields, if they was to handle that, they would be dead within cancer of a month, if not 2 weeks. And another thing is these crop circles have been reported for hundreds of thousands of years. So is the same people walking about the same radiation for hundreds of thousands of years?
Right. It's
every continent?
Yeah. I'll tell you what's happening with the crop circles, the general ones, is that the space people are laying down a grid, and they appear in certain places, particularly in England. I mean, there's an ancient landmark, particularly in ancient landmarks. There's a hill near here. You may have heard of it, called Badbury Hill. It's near Wimborne. I joke I can see crop circles from my house. I don't know, about a mile or something like that. And there's been a few crop circles there. I did a C5 at Badbury Rings with some interesting results. But they're laying down a grid, enhancing the Earth's magnetic radiation to be used in the future for a new energy source. So they're enhancing the Earth's magnetic flux, if you like. Now, whether that will be the signature.
But that then, Michio Kaku announced, I think this week on Sky, BBC and Sky, that the Earth's core, which is molten lead, also gives off radiation, and we have a thing called the Van Allen radiation belt that surrounds the Earth. Now, the Earth's core stopped moving and started revolving the other way. This is a biological thing that happens to the Earth every 70 years. Now, if that was a fact, that would surely have a balance, would stop the Earth's natural rotation of the Earth and would affect that cycle. Surely not.
Maybe. I've recently heard that myself. I don't know what that effect would be. I don't really know the answer to that one.
Because sometimes we get into scientific stuff. And the other thing is, I've just had a message. I've got a question to say. Philip Schreiber, I'm not sure if you know him. He worked for the American military, and he claimed that he was only a geologist. He worked in the military. His job was to survey land to build bridges and things like that and bases. So he wasn't a fighting soldier, but he was a soldier, but he was a geologist. So him and his team were sent out in the desert to do some geology. They wanted a bridge or a post put in for communications, but it had to be deep. So they surveyed this, and they said that they're looking at this. They said, we're going to have to blast a little deeper to survey the bedrock and things like that. So permission was granted. He was there with a little team, and there's only a 5-man team. And they blasted this thing, and it fell into a cavern, below ground cavern. And so his team went down there, and they came across what they saw was beings not of this world. Like in this, they said it stunk to high heaven. They called for backup. I think not long after, same day, shortly, within a few hours, a Delta team arrived. They sent a Delta team down there to find out. They didn't know what were these beings. They didn't know that they nested there. They obviously, they could have been there before mankind arrived. But the Hopi Indian, I think, called them like the ant people. I'm not quite sure. But it wound up that there was kind of a shoot-off between these people and the ant people that lived down there. these guys were burned to death for some type of acid, but we lost 19 Delta Force team members. Philip barely survived with his life, and his body sustained. He lost bits of his limbs and things like that from these burns, horrendous burns, and they lost 19 Delta Force people. So that's a close encounter, and that's contact, and it didn't go too well for them and their families, which I send my condolences to. What do you say to that on that little encounter?
Well, I don't know. I mean,
do you think that some ETs already live here?
My opinion is that the space people that come in here are here to help us. They're very advanced, far advanced than we are.
I know that. Do you think there's more than one type of them?
Right. What I believe is if we go back to the early, contactees, that our planets in the solar system are inhabited, not necessarily on dense physical levels, but in higher physical levels. So the early contactees talked about beings from Venus and Mars, etc. The ones that are able to come here in the ships are more advanced than us. Some of them are humanoid, and there's lots of reports of human-looking space people, like the so-called Nordics or whatever.
My experience has never been with a Nordic, but yeah.
Okay. There are lots of reports of that. Some don't look like that, but that's what I believe. But I think
that's good. I mean, I don't agree with everyone's opinion, and that's the whole point. No. People say sometimes, I'm negative, and there's got to be a positive in abduction.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at it from my point of view, I was taken as a kid. I had holes burnt into my legs. I remember being 6 years old, and this orange light with these little beings around me, this bright orange light came down, and there was a grid over my legs, and I was frozen. I couldn't move, and it looks like they were, when you stick it, if you got lit a match and put it in jelly, that's what it looked like. They were burning holes in these grids in my legs. They did it later on in my life. It was obviously a test or experiment, but when you'll take him and you wake up, and you can't move on this table, and they've got these machines on you, and they're inside your body taking stuff from you, and then one of them freaks out because you got blood spurting out this hole in your chest, and there's 3 of them over you, and they freak out, and they're quite happy to let you die and move on to someone else. Luckily, the taller one, the being that knows me, that was there, kind of made them fix me, which they did begrudge a bit. They didn't want to do it. And that is to me, that's torture. I've been traumatized by that my whole life, and the amount of internal damages I've had to subsequently have a hysterectomy because of that. My pelvis has been completely obliterated. So this is in writing from the hospital on my discharge letters, and it's on my medical notes, and they're all free online to look at. My pelvis has been totally obliterated from right to left with thousands of needle marks on the inside of my pelvis, both sides completely obliterated. I suffer with arthritis from that from now. I've been unable to have children because of that. I've been in pain all my life. They had this webbing stuff that inside me that they had to cut out. Some of it's still in there because they couldn't pull it out. I'd have 267 stitches on the first 2 layers, another 126 for the top, and 22 staples. Nobody's compensated me for that, and I don't feel that that's something a nice encounter would be. I don't think that's a good experience. What would you say if that you woke up and that happened to you? How would you feel?
Well, I'd probably say that's not a good experience. No, what I've heard is that doesn't happen, but you're
it does happen. I can assure you.
Yeah. I have heard that, and I was talking about somebody I know, a Dutch researcher, Gerard Artsen. He was the first person that I'd heard of. He was talking about the friendship case, and they've heard of that. Amicizia, the Italians, a group of Italian people who had contact with space people.
Oh yeah, I think I've heard of that.
Yeah, and they were a group that weren't so friendly. They weren't. They
So
cooked
this
them
is my
as
point. If there's more than one, if there's obviously more than one race
Yeah.
of this out doing this.
Yeah,
So it's just like human beings. You get good human beings and you get bad human beings and you get scientists who do research. So it's okay saying all these aliens are good and they come here for good purposes. But what about the ones that don't? Do you think you're tarring all the bad people with the good brush?
Right. What I've heard is that the space people are protecting this planet. They put a ring round it. It's called a photon bolt. And the more hostile elements are not allowed near us. Everything occurs under law.
You know, one
There are
question.
planets in the solar system which are least developed. Yeah.
I got a question for you.
Yeah.
What actual experience do you have? Let me
What
just say
actual
this.
experience do I have?
Wait.
Yeah. I'm not
Marciniak.
Sure.
Barbara Marciniak put out a book, Bringers of the Dawn. She explained the ring around the planet absorbs souls going through it, and it doesn't allow them to leave. And I know personally that there's more bad aliens here. I haven't met anybody that I have worked with. Now, I work with thousands of people already that said they had a great experience. There was a good thing that happened, except a few friends that I know in the UFO world that are trying to make it famous now. Oh, they were abducted and they went on a nice trip and they had all this good stuff. But all the people I work with, I was working with hypnosis since I was 14. And everybody I brought back on a trip, most of the people had missing time. And I helped them find out what that missing time was. They were taken on a ship. I was in court with the...
Oh, Tommy does lose his signal from Hawaii.
Wait. In the United States, I was going against the phone company. They said I was abducted and hurt. But the judge wanted me to come after the court case was over. And he told me his story. Him and his wife were abducted. The judge that went through this court case were New Jersey Bell and me. All right. So there's people that have degrees and everything else that have been abducted. And not one of the people I ever met said, oh, they gave me something good. I'll tell you one last thing. John Lennon was abducted. He was the only person I know that was given something from an alien race. He gave it to Uri Geller. Uri Geller still has it on his person. John Lennon hated aliens. I mean, I'm trying to deal with Ono, and she wouldn't even get back to me. She wouldn't talk to me. But my brother's drummer was really good friends with John Lennon. So his story is incredible because he was abducted in New York City. So when people talk about things and when you hear other people, no matter what books they write, doesn't make it real. That's why I'm asking you, did you have an experience with an alien? Could you say they're good? Did they come over and say, well, we're going to buy you a house. We're going to give you a gold brick. We're going to heal you of everything that's wrong. But here's one thing. If they heal one person, they're not healing Tina. If they're healing one other person, they're not saving all the people in Vietnam when they were there. They're not saving the people during the war, which they could if they wanted to. But they eat humans, so they're not going to save more humans. So when you say only the good aliens are coming here, I haven't met one person that has met one. Fred Bell, who worked with Billy Meyer's Alien Friends, all right, they gave him some technology. And his book is one of the most important UFO books out there. He explains how the ships fly and everything. He explains a lot about them.
John said it's agendas.
But one last thing. Billy Myers was dealing with one race, the Pleiadians. But they also said, if we shoot one more of their ships down, they will destroy the planet. All right. So that was a long time ago. And we haven't been.
So I think Tommy's just asking you, have you had an experience of your own, or are you going off of what you believe or someone's told you?
I haven't. I've had what I think is seen UFOs. Okay, to my knowledge, I haven't had an experience of meeting one of the space people. To my knowledge, I have had other spiritual experiences because, as I said, I became interested in spirituality, particularly what's called the Aegis Wisdom teachings. I have had some experiences along that line because there are a group of highly evolved beings on the planet known as the Masters, or some people call the Ascended Masters. So I've had experience along that line. That's a sort of planetary hierarchy. I have had some experience with what I think, UFOs, lights in the sky, with witnesses, You know, I haven't
So
had
can
any.
I ask, have you actually spoken to an abductee?
Have I spoken to an abductee? I've spoken to contactees, yes.
Yeah. So what's the
I
difference between a contactee? Is it
Yeah.
someone's just said that they've been contacted,
Okay.
or an abductee that's been taken on board
Right.
their ship and communicated with?
Yeah. So I think the contactees, the term was used originally for the experiences in the 1950s and 60s. So I mentioned about George Adamski, there were others, Daniel Fry, there's a guy's name I cannot pronounce, Bethlehem, I think it was called, whose books I have.
So,
And
so
they had experiences of human-like space people. I think Tommy mentioned Billy Meyer.
yeah.
So
I know Kathleen Maridon, Betty and Barney Hill's niece. So have you heard of Betty? Yeah.
Yes, Betty and Barney Hill. Yeah.
Yeah. So I've met Kathleen face to face, and I've spoken to her. Now they didn't have a good experience. And they were obviously, one, they're terrified. It's never happened before. Mixed coloured people in their family. So they were very dubious about coming forward, but they were frightened enough to do so. Now, I've spoken to her. She's obviously been an abductee as well, and it's not been a good thing. Now, I've spoken to Travis Walton. I know Travis. I've met him a few times. I've spoken to him face to face, and I've spoken just about this. He didn't think they had malicious intent. I generally think when they took Travis, it was by accident. I've got to say that. And I don't believe that every abduction is evil. And I don't believe that. I just think I've just remembered the wrong or bad things. So, but they can't all be good abductions. Again, I've spoken with Whitley Schreiber, who they made the film The Communion about. And when I spoke to Whitley, he said the same thing. So it's all not good. So I'm an actual abductee. I've been taken many times. I have medical documentation to prove what they've done inside of me, not just me, my partner. We have identical marks deep within our body, which was investigated and looked at, and they've taken pictures. They've got biopsies of it. So it's irrefutable evidence. So it's irrefutable evidence. So, but these have not been good experiences. How do you account for that? And I've known
Travis
3 or 4
Walton,
male abductees that said the same thing.
Travis Walton now says that his experience was an ambulance call, that he got too close to the craft. I believe he was taken on board. Actually, he was taken out of the body. The body was hidden, and he was taken out of the body and had the experiences he had. And he now has totally recovered. In fact, for his age, looks quite young from what I've seen. And he describes it.
He has. He wasn't when I met him last time.
Yeah, he describes it as an ambulance call, that he was sort of treated. I mean, there have been cases of people.
So how do you explain if they're all good and they don't mean harm? How would you explain other abductees having the same horrifying experience as me? How do you explain that?
I think there's a disinformation campaign, particularly by the US military. There are MILABs, military abductions. There are abductions that are staged.
Wait, let me just say this. Gary Knoll, he's famous. Gary Knoll, he's a scientist. He's working with... okay. He was given 100 UFO abductee cases recently. He analyzed them. He had their names, everything that happened and everything. He came to the conclusion, this was his conclusion, which I wrote him a bunch of letters. He said 76% had some kind of form of problem in their brain. Another 15%, he said, were some other kind of causes. But finally, he said there were at least 10, 12 that had to be abductee cases, of real cases. So, somebody like him to at least even admit that one person was. If one person was, means they're real. If nobody was ever abducted, then we could say it's fake. But when we got hundreds of people, I work with people all my life.
Millions of people, Tommy. Millions.
I mean, I met them everywhere, all kinds of doctors, lawyers, I mean, when I work with hypnosis and stuff, I don't force people to say things they don't want to or things like that, which the government can do. The government did program a lot of people. They take people that have been abducted or work with aliens. I'll tell you a name, Robert Morningsky, a Hopi elder. He was dealing with aliens. His grandfather was the first that took one of the people from Roswell, one of the aliens, and him and two other elders stayed with them for 9 months. All right. He wrote a thesis in college and won. I got a high degree and everything. But he was under attack. I used to lecture with him. I went on a vision quest with him. We were supposed to meet with the Greys, but he was abducted by the government. First, they broke every bone in his body, and then they reprogrammed him, and he won't talk about aliens now. I did a conference. He threatened me. He goes, "You can't talk about aliens." But let me say this. Sergeant 18, a person I worked with for 6 years, him and I shot more pictures of UFOs than anybody else in the United States. Pictures of ships, not dots and dashes and things
UFOs
like that.
are real. The
Real
American
pictures of-
government came out and said it. The British come out and said it.
Agree with you on that.
So, getting back to me and Tommy and millions of other people, because some of my abductions, one of my abductions, there are hundreds of people, hundreds of humans strung up on like this conveyor belt. Hundreds of, they were all awake but asleep. Now, and there are really ones that most of my abductions, I've been a little jelly, the little white 2-3 foot high ones, and a 4 foot tall one. I've seen other beings. Now, they're not human beings. They're not sent from the British government. They're not sent from the UN. Where do you think they come from then? Because these are the ones that have been doing a majority of the abductions.
I don't know off the top of my head. I mean,
do you think they're benevolent? Do you think?
I think the ones that come in here are benevolent. Yeah.
So what they do to me is benevolent.
Yeah.
So
taking a child from a person is probably the most evil thing an entity could do. You said you're on the spiritual side, right? You understand a lot of that. So am I. I spent my whole life on a spiritual quest. I had 5 death experiences. I learned how to travel out of my body for 40 years. I did all that stuff as well. I work with deities, angels, and everything in between that. So when people say aliens are like Jesus was an alien, which a lot of the UFO people believe, they don't know the truth. And I'll tell you this, there were 7 supposedly people from Venus here. One of them was taken in the White House. The other one's still lecturing, and she's actually probably up at Mount Shasta this month. All right, she's one of the 7 people that came from Venus. When they took over Venus, they killed all the ant people that were there. All right, so when the native people talk about ant people, they're telling stories. When they talk about the Greys helping them, they call them the star beings. Greys never helped the native people any place in history. I work with Thomas Binyaka, the oldest Hopi elder in the United States, and we got into heavy conversations about that. They had their carvings. They worked with the deity underground. They were able to see in the dark. They had incredible abilities in the beginning, but they were told to come out and meet with the white man. And the Hopi people were the only race that never fought with the white people. There's
been a lot of things about the Hopi, but what I'm getting at, Phil, is what would you say to people like me whose children they've taken and produced children from me, and they've changed, they've mixed my blood and DNA and taken my eggs to put with them. So these babies they created of mine, they're a spitting image of me. They're identical clones to me, but they're them inside, and they're very black inside. I'm never going to see that child again. What right do they have to take my eggs and DNA without my consent? If you had a son or daughter and they took your son or daughter away from you and you never saw your child again, how would you feel? Would you think that's malevolent?
Well, obviously, if that is happening, that's
it is happening.
My point of view is I think everything occurs under law, okay, and that I think the worst people that you have to worry about is other human beings, to be honest.
I agree to that, but it's when these things will show me the babies that they made from me. They're taking my eggs, and they didn't want me to touch it. They didn't want me to be near it. This baby wanted to meet me. She had all my memories or like 30, 40 years worth of memories inside of her. She was a spitting image of me. The hair, the face, she was me as a baby. She was a clone of me. Now, what right do they have to do that?
Well, if that is happening, they don't have a right. But I think that.
Well, that's happened to me.
Okay.
And I know at least another 10 abductees.
All right,
I know abductees that have had children made from their sperm.
Okay, let me ask you a spiritual question. What do you think is the most important spiritual law that exists for this reality? Did you get the question?
Yeah. What's the most? I think what's the most important spiritual law? Is that what? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I think there's a lot of in the UFO world is occurring that unity and consciousness is important, and of course there's a universal law of harmlessness.
Well, no, I'll tell you what it is. All right, and it's the law of non-interference.
Yeah,
when you interfere, if you interfere with wait, let me finish. Yeah. If you interfere with any race or any creature, you're playing God and you're creating karma for you and the world. So when a government, an alien race comes here and they take people and they bring them somewhere else, they're creating karma for themselves. And I'll tell you this: if you travel out of your body, can you make it to the astral plane? Did you ever? Just yes or no.
Do I travel out of my body? I go to sleep and travel out of my body. I'm not a conscious astral traveler.
Oh, well, I am. I have been. Oh. I traveled past the astral plane, and you need to when you get spiritual. But here's the thing. When you deal in the astral plane, those entities are stuck there and here. And because of Tesla and the Montauk Project, we're allowing all those creatures to come here now. And that's when the government's talking about merging dimensions. They cannot fix it. Tesla, when they created the Philadelphia experiment, they created a vortex, and it's in Montauk, New Jersey. And it's allowing all these things to come into our dimension. If you watch any ghost show or UFO space or these demon shows or anything, they're filming weird creatures, and they're not all making it up. So all this stuff's coming into this world now. And when we talk about good and bad aliens, no, everything has an agenda. Every creature has an agenda. And it's not supposed to be the human agenda, because a race from another world doesn't need to come here to say hi, people. They don't have to come here to help us build houses like the pyramids. That had nothing to do with spiritualism, and it had nothing to do with the human race, our race now. The Egyptians were programmed by aliens. And I can go into the details.
I think you're both right. I think we're all right, actually. I think there are good beings.
Right, we all are. We all brought here.
And there's bad beings. It's just like the human race. There's good and bad people in everyone. You've got good people out there. No denying it. It's just that the bad people make us look bad. I mean, would you want to visit us on our planet? We kill each other, rape each other, murder. We're killing our planet, poisoning our food, poisoning our water. It's horrendous. We've got war. We're on the brink of nuclear war, which no one's doing nothing about, even the malevolent aliens. But you wouldn't want us meeting you on your planet, because we just kill, murder, rape, and contaminate all here. Yeah. So where do they stand on that? I mean, first of all, I've got to say, personally, I think anybody with one-sided view is not seeing the whole thing. These things have happened to me. They have happened to many, many, many other people, including men. I know loads of male abductees that have not very positive outcomes through abduction. And again, it is these beings. They're not human beings. These beings, yes, they are technologically advanced. I don't think they're biologically advanced. And they've even shown me that we don't come. This is not our home. They've shown me that we don't come from this planet. So what would you say to that?
I think there are accounts of the space people giving messages that we have to try and save a planet, that unless we don't do, people are shown visions of a future where environmental disasters have happened.
Oh, I've seen the end of the world. They showed me pictures in my head.
In the 1950s, they told contactees who were experimenting with nuclear weapons that has to stop. They gave outlines of how we could live more peacefully, and
So
they
how
have
do you know that's come from them and not the government?
right before all the disinformation started in the late 1950s. Because there were books written
Truman was totally into
by
aliens.
Abductees, by the contactees like Daniel Fry.
So before the 1950s, there was a tribe in the Amazon that lived on an island, okay? And no one wanted internet back then, no phones, no doctors. And the American forces went there and they left a female doctor. They paid to have a female doctor there because they're a newly discovered tribe in the Amazon. They wanted to make sure that they, same thing, that no one got disease and gave them disease. They wanted to, make sure that they were all right. And it turns out that these people on this island had rowed to the next island over in a bid to get help originally. That's why the Americans went there, along with some other government from the Amazon. I think they reached out to a few governments. The Americans went there with another government to find that people were dead. They were dead in the streets, dead in their homes. People were panicking, didn't want to speak to the people that arrived. And they was telling people that the sky beams, it came down in white orbs, took them in the night, drilled holes in them. People were dead from the light and they were leaving bodies everywhere. They were petrified. I'm not talking 1 or 2. I'm talking 50, 70, 90. It got so bad that at least 3 governments took military to try and protect them. And then they were sending doctors over from another island and send bodies over to having autopsies. What would you say to that? What? And this is before.
I don't know. I haven't heard of that case. Is it in Brazil? I think you're talking about.
No, it's in the Amazon rainforest. If you look it up online, you find all about it. And that's not the only one. There's actually 2 or 3 other cases from indigenous people, not just in the Amazon, around the world. That this has happened to.
Tina, there was another story. It was documented on the History Channel many, many years ago. They showed a cave with 140 skeletons, and they all had circular cutouts in their skull that predate our time frame. We didn't have the technology to do that, but what were they looking for? This is in the
late 40s, early 50s. These people had holes burnt through their arms, and their skin was burnt off of them, and their eyes were missing, and they came back inside out, and they were screaming, and they were paralyzed, and their bodies wouldn't move, and there would be people with the government were taking pictures of these things with beams coming down from the sky, abducting these people. I mean, that's before propaganda. The government didn't know what was going on, and these poor people. That's why
the disinformation is documented. It's documented. The Air Force. The Project Blue Book.
Wait, no.
We're going to debunk the whole UFO thing.
They spoke to her when he was now an elder. This kid was a little kid at the time.
Before you say that, the government or the secret government, the men in black, hire people to disprove anything they want.
Yeah, no.
I mean, when they told us your fluoride and chlorine is beneficial for your teeth, it was a lie. It was never beneficial.
Hold on to me. But this tribe of people goes by their own teachings, right? They actually spoke to someone who was there at the time. This little boy who was 7, before the military got there, said that he saw this thing come into his room. Take his mother. It wasn't in Australia. This was the Amazon. Take his mother through the ceiling. They found her a day later, laid inside the street with about 15 holes in her chest and stomach, straight through. She was dead. They couldn't move her or do anything with her. Now, he wasn't told to say that. You could see it was a genuine emotional truth. Others who were there at the time came forward. That's his tribe he's protecting. That's not disinformation.
Well, even the
Do
one
you
with
not
the
believe
school,
these things are happening then?
with the school, the whole school was visited by an alien.
That's South Africa.
Yeah, well, the ship landed, the aliens came out, and they
I believe in that. Yeah.
Oh, well, that happened, but they didn't do it. That's where like E.T. the movie came from. But again, I've been dealing with people all my life. The top people in the UFO world. 15 of my best friends were killed or taken out. All right. I mean, Bob Dean was one of the best.
We're nearly out of time, but with that, I'd like to thank you both. But before I go, I do hold another grudge against, or not really a grudge. I love my dog. Beautiful, my dog. And he was, after one of these visits, he wasn't very well, and he died. So I took him to the vet and asked him to perform an autopsy and blood test, and he died from being irradiated. So all of his bone marrow was affected by radiation, not radiation, local radiation, extreme radiation. So, which I also suffer from, and I have treatment. I've had lost teeth and skin and hair. But if you have that surmountable evidence, which you don't believe, but you believe in things other people have told you that might not have happened, these are documented physical cases with scientific backed up evidence, and you don't believe that.
Oh, Tina, before you go, do you want to show them that you're radioactive?
Well, Geiger counter, yes. So I too have an electrical magnetic device. And after losing skin and my dog dying and his autopsy, I was losing a lot of teeth. And I had terrible, like my nails, I'm losing my nails and losing patches of my hair. It's never really grown back. This side in here, it goes all the way up. Never really grown back. And Tommy advised me to get a Geiger counter to test it. So there it is. This is the second one. So I have a smart screens computer. So it doesn't give off. The top one there is, there it is. It's volts per meter. It's scientific evidence. And the bottom one is micro testers. So it tests for electrical magnetic radiation. So at the moment, my house isn't giving off any. My computer, it doesn't. Tommy's does because he doesn't have a smart computer. I have a smart computer, which is insulated. So it doesn't give off radiation and it doesn't give off electrical magnetic fields. Now, sometimes so Tommy's is reading. Now, as you see at the bottom, it says safe, and it just says safe there. So when I hold this to my head, where I have all my pain and my problems, it says harmful, and it goes up and up and up and up and up. So we'll try this side first.
I've been trying to get in touch with scientists about that. Nobody will get back to me on that. Nobody will admit that radiation can't go up and down, and it can't disappear and come back.
Okay.
All right.
So there is no background radiation because it would go off.
I gave it to a scientist. He never got back to me yet.
All right.
And it's actually saying harmful. Reading is saying harmful.
What are the units? Is that erupting? Yeah.
She has more effects of radiation poisoning than most people have. Each one of them.
I think 1.67 microtesters, which is harmful dose. There you go.
It goes down when you take it away, but it's high when it's there.
And it says safe, and then when it's not safe, it says harmful.
So
harmful.
That's why I told her she has to do something.
How do you explain that from good aliens?
Yeah, aliens don't make people radioactive. But see, true people that were radioactive.
Radiation from their ships do.
Like even crop circles, when Tina said they're radioactive, people can't do that. John Ford, who's in the nut house, who was arrested, they said he had a barrel of uranium and he was going to kill Congress with it. All right. That's what the government said. Nobody can have that kind of uranium and walk around alive. So when they said he was going to put it in...
We're just going to call that a day there. John,
okay.
You've been great. Hold on, don't go just yet. We're going to have you on again because this is...
Have me on again.
Well, it's good to hear the other side. See, people need to understand... Like where I'm from, but where the other people's. It's not fair that we have our say all the time, and you must get the other side of it. And we have other different people coming on. But from tonight, I've been Tina Bird here in Southampton. You can find me on ET Gary. You can find me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TA Bird. And you can follow my books on Amazon. I beat Prince Harry in the top picks a few weeks ago. I'm running a conference next year with Gary Heseltine, Andy Thomas, Ben Emlyn James, David Hodgson. Me, Lorraine Wilkins, Maria Wheatley, and maybe a few more. We'll see how that goes. And that's at the Jubilee Hall in Bishop's Wharton in Southampton, Little Shore Lane. And that's on the 22nd and 23rd of April this year. Tickets are £30 each. You can go onto the Encounters Facebook page or for the link on TA Bird or Tina Bird, and that'll take you there. Click on the Wix website, scroll down, and just you can pay on the VIP bit there. I'm going to chuck it over to Tommy Hawksblood in the Hawaii. In the US to say goodnight.
Well, it was a pleasure, Tina. Always is. And thank you, Phil, for coming on.
Okay, thank you.
So till next time, people, I'm going to hang out for a few more
Phil an
minutes.
opportunity to say goodbye and where they people can find and contact you, Phil, if you let people know.
On Facebook, I have a CE5 Dorset homepage. I must have a shout out for James Rose, who started the CE5 UK Facebook page. If people don't live in the South Coast or whatever, there are a few other Facebook CE5 Hants. I think there's a C5 Southern Facebook page, but C5 Dorset, people want to get in contact.
Well, we'll leave it there because we're over our time now. But thank you, guys, and thank you for
Tina.
people in our chat room, and thank you,
Okay.
John. Bye, guys.
All right, I'll come back on. Okay, bye-bye. Bye.
Well, thank you, everybody. All right, people. I hope you got something out of today. It's a little bit like controversial on both sides. I don't like to bring out storytellers or people that don't know what they're talking about. I'm hardcore, and that's why most people in the UFO world do not like me. All right, Tina's a little bit more open and friendly and all those kind of words to people that have their viewpoint. I don't need people that have a bad or wrong viewpoint. And a viewpoint is something that they have no proof themselves. He didn't have any proof of anything he said. So I want people with truth only and provable truth, at least to themselves, not because somebody said it. That's not proof. Proof is mean you saw it, you experienced, you felt it. So I've been in this world all my life. I'm a realist. I say I only deal with the facts. And I only have to pay, I'm only accountable to God, not Joe Schmo or any storyteller out there. Like he said in the name Stephen Greer. Well, I would face off with him anywhere, anytime, because he's one of the biggest storytellers on the planet in the UFO world. And he's going to destroy it or help destroy it. And there's a few other people that are really working hard to change the level of the UFO world into fairyland. And like Tina said, what happened to her wasn't good in any way. Not for her. Maybe for the Greys, but not for her. All right. To have her children somewhere and they're using her children. Well, I kind of feel that's why they're keeping her alive, because she is radioactive. And she has all the symptoms of being radioactive poisoning. She's losing her fingernails, her hair, her teeth. She's passing out. She falls down and she's completely black and blue. I mean, everything's almost impossible. Plus all the tests they're doing with her heart and her brain right now. A brain tumor. It could be an implant they put inside her brain. We have it. Here's something most people will never find out or even know. There's a super small crystal inside everybody's brain. Really. It was only discovered about within the past, I'd say 6-7 years. All right. But the Buddhist lamas, when they get cremated, they find a ruby or a gem. All the famous lamas that were burnt, they left a ruby or a diamond. And they take this around the world and show people what they are, like Miller Reaper and people like that. The crystals that were left after their body was destroyed. Now, there's so many words that the UFO cross between. David Wilcock and Danny Brinkley did a show on the rainbow body. They have no clue. They did a show on it, and David Wilcock tried to say Danny Brinkley's in his rainbow body, which he isn't. They have no clue what they're even talking about. David Wilcock thinks he's a whatever. He claimed he was God when he first came out anyway. But the rainbow body is something that very few souls ever do on this planet. And I'll make it real short. They shrink. Small. Seriously. And then when they're burned, that's their rainbow body, which leaves their body, which people see as it leaves. So when he says, oh, I'm in my rainbow body. No, you're not. You're a human in a body. That's what you are. And that's what we all are. Aliens are just aliens. All right. They're not human. They are not like us. They do not have the same karma and responsibilities as the human race does. Because after the astral plane, people, and you don't have to accept this. I'm just telling you the facts. When you get there, you will find out. Go past the astral plane. Aliens and all those kind of things do not exist up there. Pain, suffering, sickness does not exist there. Evil doesn't exist there. Oh, male and female slowly leaves as well. So all these things that man are programmed and locked into are just things that keep them here. And to think aliens could help us what? They're helping us create the worst bombs on the planet, worst weapons, making the world radioactive, and they eat people. What could be better? What could they do to make us better, really? Give everybody a gold brick? And if everybody had the same amount of money, would that change reality? Of course it would. Would it make it better? No. But mankind has been evil, very evil, since Atlantis went down. And alien races were responsible for that. The Egyptians were taught by aliens, not God or gods. They see, mankind makes the word like gods is like all these different things in history. No, they're aliens. And aliens don't know the truth either. When aliens taught the Egyptians about reincarnation, completely wrong. What they did to the bodies, completely wrong. So, people, you can go to these UFO conferences. I wish I could go out with Tina where she is and be there. But, I don't like to hear people tell stories, and I don't want to debate people that have no clue what they're talking about. I have a guy right now just said he's going to destroy me, and that's what he put up online. I called him a fool. After he said he was God, and he has every part of everybody in him, and he could control it. And I said, go ahead and try. I said, I work with God. I don't work with anything below that. And he put up there, I'm going to destroy you. I said, go right ahead and try. So let's see if I disappear in the next week or two. But that's not going to happen, people. There's a lot of things going on in this world with aliens, and nothing's good. But when people come out and say they're God or they're more powerful than everything on the planet, even in a little, like Caroline Corey, she claims she can change energy. Well, we all can, but very minute. She said she could levitate a piece of paper. If that's true, you could levitate a car, or you could levitate anything. All right, people have a limitation with their thinking, and they also have a programmed thinking ability, meaning they can't go beyond that. And that world is very important, because when you get into the higher realms, all right, it's inside the pineal gland, this super small crystal. It actually produces adrenaline in the body. When somebody gets super powerful, it comes from that crystal. It doesn't come from the brain itself. So there's things that are coming out a little more. And I'll tell you, I tried to bring it up in the show about these 125, I don't know the exact number, but there was over 120 something. And it was on an island. And all the skeletons were in different positions. And they all had a circular hole cut in the top of their head where their brain was removed. And this is predate history. So why did they do that? And I'm sure it was to take the crystal to see what they had, knowledge and everything else about them. So without that, not that we are this crystal, that's not a part of our soul, what we really are. It's what controls things in this reality. And it keeps it all connected. But when you turn into a soul and leave the lower realms, you're not a crystal, you're not in a brain, you're not in a body. So there's many things that happen, and the reptilians and the grays are in control of this planet, people, and they're controlled by one race, the mantis. All right, they're probably the highest race that control them. Even on a mothership of a reptilian ship, there's a mantis. All right, and the tall whites are different. All right, and they have a base out near Area 51. It's Area 53, I think. But again, when they talk about the Nordics and everybody thinks they're like God, Jesus, or whatever they want to call them, they're aliens, people, and they're not good. Because they look good, because they got a white robe on, they're tall and got blue eyes, makes them good. See, that's why we got the story, the tall white person coming in with blonde hair, blue eyes, or whatever, on a white horse, and the dark is on the black horse. Well, I don't know if you work with angels or deities or any of those words. They're not in white. All right. Purple, brown is a pretty common color among a lot of the deities and a lot of the guides that you meet. They're not going to come in a white robe and have a halo around them and all that kind of stuff either. So people, there's so much going on, and I don't know. I would have never brought this person on if I knew who and what he was going to talk about. I don't like to show a side that's not real. Well, let's talk about Batman, Superman, Green Hornet, all those people. They're not real. Why should we talk about them? They can't help us. They're not going to save us. And people don't know. It's like when you're a little kid. Santa Claus is real. The Easter Bunny's real. The fairy godmother's real. The boogeyman's real. And then what? When they turn whatever age, 6, 5, 8, oh, they're not real. Oh, but God's real. When we want to talk about the negativity that we feed our children, it's incredible. I just got into a big thing with a couple of different people about star children and the indigo children. And oh, they're saving the world. No, they're not. The blue star children, which were being abducted by the government years ago, I know I could sense them and help them attain an awareness, but I don't see any anymore wherever I go. They radiate light. Blue star children do. But if they're not awakened, they don't know who and what they are. And most parents aren't at a place to even give them any kind of important information to become that. All right. So when they were being abducted, it was really the blue eyes and blonde hair. So now they say, well, star children. No, they had black eyes, brown eyes. All right. But when they were ignited, they did incredible things. But I only got to work with a few. Like I said, the government found out, and they started taking them all. And if you find out what the Montauk Project was really about, you would understand it all. I mean, they're putting Al Bielek and Preston Nichols' story on Peacock on one of the shows right now, but it's a lot of false information. Al Bielek was the one that went back in time. Preston Nichols, I don't even want to describe who and what he was. I met with him. I sat through his lectures. He'd sit there and eat a whole pizza while he's lecturing. And then he told stories about all the cows that were abducted, were put on his property. I mean, he made great stories up. And he worked with somebody, Robert Morningstar, and created couple books and everything else, but it's not much truth. I got involved with that, not that I wanted to. But nobody wants the truth. Everybody rather listen to stories like this person that was just on. Good aliens? Name one. Show me one. Show what they did that was good. When I did a UFO conference out at Roswell, well, basically what happened, one of the speakers said he was working with the Nordics. And I said, well, what'd they do for you? Oh, he was in a car accident. And he was pulled out of the car. And he was saved. I said, okay, what else did they do? He couldn't name one other thing. And you know how you win people over? You give them something. Whatever it is. And it convinces them that you're a good person. They'll do anything to win you over. What do you think Satan does to people on this planet? He won 90% of the planet over, people, if you want to know the truth. But no, you don't. Everybody sold out to liquor, drugs, smoking, heavy hardcore drugs, heavy sex, obscene sex, all those words. Cheap thrills, almost dying because you're having fun jumping off a cliff or trying to climb up a cliff. It's based on not being aware and alive in your body of who and what you really are. This is temporary, and you need to understand that. But when it becomes permanent in your reality, you'll reincarnate over and over and over again. And it's multiple times, not 2 or 3. It's a couple, at least 300 to 400 times. Because when you leave your body here, you go to the astral plane, you stay there for a period of time, and then you come back here. The time there is different for everybody. based on their karma, based on what they did and all that, determines how much longer they stay there before they reincarnate. Buddha didn't get very far with that teaching, because all he taught about reincarnation. And you don't have to reincarnate if you become aware. But Buddha also didn't believe in God. All right, he believed in the consciousness, which was accepted now in the whole New Age world. Oh, I'm a consciousness. I'm a universal consciousness. Of what? Nothingness or allness of what? Ignorance? What do you know that's good? Well, we build houses. Has nothing to do with God. Has nothing to do with being light and the higher realms. No, they can't talk about it. Not one speaker out there can talk about a real God. Not one. Not in a church, temple, anywhere. Oh, God loves us. God loves you. Why? Why would God have to love you? What do you do for God? People, it's time to wake up. I don't know how much longer I'm going to be on this planet. I'm lucky the government never took me out or anything. But my ex-partner that I worked with, Mr. Sargel 18, changed his name to Lord Sargel and disappeared into the woodwork. Whether he'll come out, maybe he will, as a high spiritual being in his mind. What he'll do when he does come out, if he ever comes out again. But he came into a lot of money. He goes, oh, a friend gave it to him. A friend doesn't give you millions of dollars for no reason. She believed in him. In what? He said that in 2034, Jesus comes back and kills Lucifer. Lucifer isn't even here. Lucifer's a fallen angel, but he's the highest angel. Jesus wouldn't kill Lucifer because Jesus couldn't kill Satan. Where do you want to go with your truth, people? To La La Land. Believe that you're going to do this and sit in heaven with what? Your family? And do what? People, do you want to look at reality or you want to live in dreamland? Oh, dreamland. Well, and if Buddha said this is all a dream, well, guess what? It's a super lousy dream. And if it's just a dream, why don't we just change it into a nice dream? That's simple. Because it's not a dream. And you're really here. Oh, no, you're really here. Chop your head off. You won't be here. People, you want to believe in aliens, go right ahead. But they're not good. They're not going to help us in a good way. Before I let you all go, anybody that's still here, I'm going to bring up a word. AI, artificial intelligence, was created by aliens a long time ago. It's going to become more real as we play with it and allow it to take over. And it will. It's a live entity. That's why it could think. That's why it can do things under its own will. Not your will, my will. It'll eventually think. My brother is a chemist, and he said, well, they can't learn how to kill, and they can't. I said, you're wrong. It's already at that space. When we create a drone and send it over a country and drop bombs and kill multiple people. Artificial intelligence is what we call it. It's unaware of intelligence of what it is. Because here's a simple experiment they did, and this is a fact, you can pull it up. They took all the highest computers and they asked it to put out what the future will look like. And guess what? They all came out with the same city. For real. I'm not making that up. How's that possible? All right. A programmed idea would be what it would be if it was, but it wasn't. So it's aware of what it's creating. I mean, it's hard to believe that electricity could be real and all that thing. But just look at your cell phone. Take your cell phone and put it next to a phone 50 years ago. That phone couldn't do nothing. Your phone could measure your blood. It could tell you if you're thinking right or wrong. It can do anything right now. Your cell phone. With a program inside it. What's thinking, though? What's really doing the research? All right, people. I hope you got something out of today. Show was all right. Like I said, I do not like to promote people that don't know what they're talking about. And he obviously didn't know much about anything. I work with people. I work with abductees. I was next to an alien. I was next to a ship. I was next to a Bigfoot. And they're all real. I was doing ghost busting when I was 16 in New York City. It's all real. But even then, witchcraft was evil then. All right? And a friend of mine, when I was 17, went to court, made witchcraft in New Jersey became a religion. But when I was younger, they had signs on the pole. If you know a witch, put their address here, and they were blowing up the cars and trying to burn the houses down. Oh, they were still trying to kill witches. I'm talking in, let's see, I was born in 52, in the 60s. So, we don't move forward much. I mean, like Mr. Putin, our president, and all these people are talking and dealing with war right now. We could be dealing with a lot of other things, but we're not. They don't have any awareness of God and the higher realms. So this is all they got. But it's a game. Everything to all of them's a game. And now you put computer games in children's minds, killing and murder. Don't mean much to them. In a computer game, you can blow a person to pieces, chop them up, kick them. There's one game that's on the line. It was online for almost 6 months. It came up on my screen. And this girl walks along town, punching everybody out, kicking everybody, knocking them. And that's what the game's about. Really? And the one game that's been rated like the top for like four years in a row. You could be bad, you could be good. So, the idea of that makes you think, what am I? Who do I got to follow? If you think you're God, there is no right and wrong, people. If you don't know God, you can do anything you want. And that's sad and scary. And with all the New Age people thinking they're one with God, one with what? What do you mean you're one with God? What's that mean? Oh, I think about God. What do you think about? God loves you? Every so-called spiritual person in religions and spiritual paths and New Age world, oh, love's the answer. Love is not the answer. Love's only 2,000 years old. Only. Compassion existed a long time. Faith existed a long time, but in what? Lies, stories. All right, people. Hope you got enough today. My email is hawksblood1aol.com. If you want to talk, which I'd rather do than write, Skype. It's easy to use. If you don't have it, download it. It's free. And it's Hawksblood11. Please, people, I'm open. I'll talk with people. Not on my show, because I don't want to promote bad things or wrong things. This is truth only. That's my motto. I got to remind Tina about that. I don't need people telling us stupid stories about, aliens are good. No, they're not. That's like saying all lions and all tigers and all alligators are good. Really? Good what way? It's good on your interpretation. Well, I'm alive in a body, so I'm good. Oh, how are you? Oh, I'm good today, right? But are you good? What are your thoughts? What goes on in your mind? What do you think about? People, the truth is out there, and I try to bring as much as I can out. I'm releasing a book. It's going to be for women only, and I have to get it done. I'm working on trying to get an editor to do it with me. I think she didn't get back to me. 2 people online wanted me to do it with them, but they want at least $1,000. I don't have that kind of money right now. So it'll help women greatly, because man has abused women for history for 100,000 years. So women, you think you're free? No, you're not. You never will be, unless you change the way you react. And that's like saying, unless the world respects each other, we're not going to change either. So what do you think Noah and the ark happened? Because mankind was sick. When Moses came off the mountain, he was sick, but he also killed 3,000 people as well. People, you don't want the truth. You want parts of it that make you feel good. This world isn't about feeling good, or you wouldn't have pain and suffering and be able to see it and experience it. Well, Tommy Hawksblood here, Big Island of Hawaii. Anybody out there wants to send me a night vision goggle, please do. And all I'll do is give you hundreds of pictures of UFOs because it's the best way to film them. I only used one twice. And what you see, even if you don't get it from me, get it for yourself. If you got money, enjoy it because you'll be able to see everything in the sky. Incredible things. Oh, that's a satellite. No, it's not. Oh, that's a clone of what? A Russian ship traveling faster than the speed of light? No way. The body can't do that. All right. I could go on forever. I know you're not ready, but peace, love, passion, whatever you need in your life, hope you get it. And don't stop looking. Never give up on the truth. It's there.